see so many faces here again. I did wonder whether people would be bored of these by now, but still turning out. Love it. Same sort of thing as the last couple that we've done. We'll take various questions from around the room. Basically, the topics are dictated by you guys. Once again, do ask that the questions are quick and concise, and they are a question and not a statement. And then hopefully we'll get through as many different topics as we can. You know everybody on the stage, I'm not going to bother doing introductions. If you don't, you're in the wrong room. Okay, first question, who's got one?
Good evening, this is a question about recruitment, so I suppose this is for Andy. Neil said we need to score more goals this season to be in the top half of the table, top 7 if you like. I'm just wondering, having missed out on help in May, I don't know about Joe Piggott, who was after him anyway, how the situation is with regards to a striker and a white player that Neil alluded to as well. How far are we before the start of the season?
Just making it, it's working, thanks. Listen, we brought a striker in today, as you've seen, lad Ashley Nelson. We're working on another one that Neil obviously, as we've spoken about, as a recruitment group. Also a white player that we've identified, Neil's identified we need to bring in as well. And that's how we're working on. We've got 5 weeks, haven't we? We've got 5 weeks to get 2 more players in. We don't have to get them in before the start of the season. The window shuts on the 31st. We'll keep working. We're doing it each day. We're talking to a lot of people, a lot of players, a lot of agents. The list is there. And all we can do is keep talking to these players and these targets, and hopefully we can get them over the line. But we're not panicking, but we've got to roll down nerve a little bit. You know, it's there's a lot of work to try and get players. It's not easy at times. Players that we target are under contract. There's fees involved. There's agents to deal with, and they're not particularly easy to deal with. So we're confident that we'll have the squad ready, but we have to hold our nerve, because sometimes if you go in too quickly, then sometimes in 2 or 3 weeks' time there might be a player actually we wanted to get him, we didn't realise he was available, but we've used all the budget. So we have to, again, hold our nerve a little bit. The season will start, there's players out there we've identified that are in League One that actually might not get in. So all of a sudden they become available before the window shuts. So the process is, we're happy. We brought in a striker today that's, I mean, for me it's completely different to what we've got at the club at the moment. He's got sheer pace, quickest player in the league by a country mile. So you'll see that in the coming days. You know, we've done our homework on him, Neil knows him. We're excited we've got him because he's completely different to the other two. He's played with Nichols at Crawley, so we believe it's a really good combination now. So we've obviously Hawks out at the moment, injured. Hopefully not for too long. And it was imperative we got somebody in perhaps before, obviously the season starts next week, a week Saturday. So we're pleased with that, and the work will continue, and hopefully we get the players that we've identified. And going back to the Alfie May one, we did have a right go, by the way, and Brad will back us up on that. Unfortunately, we're in League 2 and Shareholder in League 1. It went against us a little bit. But we'll keep going, we'll keep working, and at the moment we feel that the squad's looking much, much better in terms of the balance of the team as well. So we're quite happy, really.
Okay, anyone else? I hope so.
What's the situation with the Brian Moore stand now, please?
What's the situation with the Brian Moore stand? We're still assessing our options on that one. As it stands, the front half of the Brian Moore is good to go. We can use it. We're using it for Southampton. The back half is costly to get up and running. It can be done, but at a very significant cost. If you look at where we are at this moment in time, how many away teams are going to bring 3,000 fans? The reality is not many. Even Southampton, the prediction we were given was between 1,500 and 2,000, so we can accommodate them with what we've got. So it's a balancing act between, we want the capacity, we want the stadium to be able to seat as many people as it possibly can, both home and away fans, by the way. So if there's a demand from Gills fans to fill it, that comes into consideration. At this moment in time, the cost of doing it probably isn't worth the return that we're going to get from opening it, because the fact is not many people are going to be sat in there very often. So it's staying as it is for now with the front half. We're constantly reviewing what we can do and doing a sort of analysis on whether it's worthwhile. One day I think it's safe to say something will happen with it, either the back gets back up and running or when the need is there. But at this moment in time, whilst we appreciate it's not very pretty, the best thing for the club financially is probably to just use the front half and keep the back half as an option should we need it. Okay, anything else? Yeah, over here. Not far enough away for you, Steve.
Good evening, gents. Can I ask a question? I'm very interested to know what Paul Scully's current role within the club is, please.
Hello, everyone. Really, it's the same answer as we gave last fans forum. So he's a minority owner with Shannon and I, and he's focused very much on the footballing side with his experience and his connection. So, you know, I think he's doing a great job with that, and it's really the same as it was, you know, when we were asked in sort of January and April, I think.
Yeah, at the back.
Hi, yeah. Well, first off, my question's about the kits. I think I speak for everyone here when the kits this year are probably the nicest we've had, well, I think since the one I'm wearing now. But I've got a 6-month-old who I'm desperate to dress as a Gills fan. He's not going to have a choice. But the lowest you go down to is 2 years. Is there any reason for that?
We do have baby kits on order, so they will be available. I'll just sort of sum up the kit situation whilst we're on the topic. We placed the order back in February. We anticipated A, that they would be popular, and B, there would be more of a demand for them this year anyway. So we increased, in terms of what we sold in all of last year, we ordered an additional 30% on top of that, and a lot of those, some sizes sold out already, and we've sold through the majority of that just at the pre-order stage, which is unbelievable, and we're really grateful for the support of everybody who seemed to clamour to get them, which is great. So we've done an additional order, which we're expecting to arrive, we're told, from Macron around late August, early September. So they will be, we've ordered another couple of thousand, so they'll be back in store and available to buy, and that does include baby kits, so we'll have everything from newborn up to 5XL. Hang on a sec. Hang on, there's a mic coming.
Yeah, just going on from that, like, they do come up quite small, and like bigger guys being stopped from getting a kit because they can't fit them. Is there a way where you can talk to Macron and maybe put a special order in where fans can have a period to order a bigger size so they can wear a shirt as well?
Yeah, it's something we hear a lot about the size. The sizing does come up small, appreciate that. It's an Italian manufacturer, and I previously worked with Araya. It was exactly the same with them, Italian manufacturer, and they do come up small. And their idea of going up a size is to make things longer rather than wider. So we will speak to them, we'll ask. At the moment we order up to 5XL. I'll see if there's any options to go any bigger than that. But it's not a huge amount we can do about the sizing. It's the same with Macron, Araya, Kappa. These companies, that's their sizing effectively. They're not going to change their sizing for us or any other club in the UK. So yeah, I would just recommend sizing up, and I'll see if we can go any bigger than what we currently have. Yeah, I'll ask the question. I'm not sure whether they do go any higher, but I will ask the question. I'm sure they do something. Sorry, I can't hear. Yeah, I'll ask the question. I don't know. I think Meg's at the back. We'll have a chat with Macron and see whether we can go up any higher. But yeah, we'll look into it tomorrow. Yeah, at the back. Oh, we'll go there, and then Steve will go there afterwards.
I think I speak for everyone that was there. Como was fantastic. Where are we planning to go next year?
It depends on our final promotion push this season. No, I don't know. You know, it's a good question, though. I think Como was fantastic. I think it was fantastic for definitely Neil and the players, the fans, Shannon and I for sure. It was a lot of fun. So I don't know yet where we will go next year, but I definitely will say we are going somewhere. Probably not the US though, because I would hate for you guys to have to do the whole red-eye thing. It is the worst when you're up all night flying back. So we'll spare you from that, but hopefully somewhere exciting and equally as sort of fun and enjoyable as Como was.
Yeah, Commissioner at the back.
Hi, my young son's asked me to ask this question. There's nothing more he would like than to have his birthday party at Gillingham. Is there not a space in the building that can be used for kiddies' birthday parties? And are there any plans for the sort of kiddie clubs to come back?
I've split that into two parts. So birthday parties is a good idea. Something actually that's one of my first jobs in football was running birthday parties on match day. So something we can do. We haven't discussed it, if I'm honest. It hasn't sort of featured on the priority list, but we'll have a chat with the commercial team, and yeah, it's definitely something we should be looking to do. It's pretty good. In terms of talking about wider development programs, that sort of thing, soccer schools, relaunching the community foundation is something that's high up on our agenda. To be honest, it's not something we're looking at today at this moment in time because we've got a lot of stuff to do to get ready for the season, but we are turning our attention in the autumn to relaunching the community trust, which will include loads of kids programs, social inclusion programs, education programs. Quite frankly, talking for myself, it's an embarrassment that we don't have one at the moment. We must be one of very few clubs in the Football League who don't, and it's something we are going to address. It's important for us, it's important for the community, and it's something you should see, hopefully, as the season goes on, you'll see A, it launched properly, and B, starting to grow and hopefully become a big player in Medway in terms of helping the community.
Is it working? Yeah. I didn't want to stop you, but that's not the question I was asking. There used to be like kiddies clubs where you get 10% off in the shop and little gifts and things. Yeah, that kind of thing. That was all sort of taken away as well. And I just feel it's important to attract young children and keep their interest in the club. Sounds a bit corny, but they're the future, aren't they? So I think it's important to attract them and keep them here.
Yeah, no, it's a good idea. Obviously, attracting the fans of tomorrow is important. The stats suggest we've done a good job of that so far. Our under 14, under 18 season tickets are, one of them's 35%, one of them's about 60% up on last year. So what we've done in terms of pricing and things like that is working. In terms of youth membership, definitely something we should be doing, something we can do. We don't have anything ready to go right now. Probably something it makes sense for us to look at, something to be introduced. Yeah, it's definitely something to do. So things like the open training day we're doing on Monday. That's the sort of initiative that we're trying to do to. We don't have a formal name for it, I suppose, as like a membership or a club. But things like that are the initiatives that we are looking to do intentionally in the summer holidays to try and attract the fans of tomorrow. We've actually got people who don't even come to games. They're not even on our database, but have bought a ticket for a free ticket for that on Monday. So those things are working. We're seeing positive upturns, and maybe formalising it into a club or a membership is something we can look at. So yeah, absolutely.
Also, just to add, at the moment we have a robust mascot program. You should check it out on our website. You could possibly build a birthday party for your child around those programs that exist. So reach out to us. We'd love to help you in that way. And then alternately, if it's not specifically match day, we have space here. We have the factory where you all are used to going and having some drinks, but that space is available in order to have a child's birthday party. So email us. We can work together to find something that might work previous to us instituting a kids membership.
Anyone got a football question so I don't have to talk?
This is a question for Neil. In the squad currently, is there anyone you would put on loan?
I think it's the longest I've ever been at a fans forum and not been asked a question, so everyone must be generally quite happy. Firstly, just great to see everybody again. Great to see people wearing the shirts. Fantastic. And anyone that went to Como, thank you very much. Support was unbelievably welcome, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. Anyone would I look to put on loan? I think a lot of the time, loan decisions in the B team group that we feel got some really good young players coming through. The opportunity for them to go on loan will be there. It's not today, it's not next week. That'll come over a period of time, and they'll go out at different stages of the season when we feel it's appropriate to put them at the right clubs. Senior players wise, i.e. first team squad members, a lot of the time that comes down to the individual. So it's down to the individual to come to me and say that I'm not happy for whether it's family reasons, footballing reasons, doesn't like me, whatever it is, then has to be discussed. At the moment, there might be potential for one player to go out on loan in the coming weeks, but we've got to make sure we've got a squad that we're happy with that covers the depth of what we might need. So Andy's already talked about trying to add to the front line. We've recruited really well defensively at the moment, we feel, but it's always difficult to add to the top end of the pitch because they're the sought after players and they're the ones that generally cost a lot of money, Brad. So back to the original question, looking to loan anybody out? Not necessarily today, but I'm sure in the coming weeks when the squad takes shape properly and players see the team, if anybody's not involved in the first few games, they might knock on my door and ask to go and play some football somewhere. And if it's for the right reasons, I'm absolutely fine with it because football's a short career and players have got to enjoy every moment of it they can.
Good evening. This is a question from my son and grandson. They've been based in the USA for the last 5.5 years in Boston. They followed Jill's home and away, of course, and I followed. But they've been amazed at the standard and the level of youth football in America and wondered whether at some time in the future you set up an academy stateside. And of course, they'd love to see a tour there next year.
Yeah, I mean, I think, actually I was amazed in America that youth soccer is huge, but professional soccer is sort of 5th, 6th, or 7th down in the line, you know, compared to our sort of US football, basketball, baseball. As far as academies in the US, I think really what we'd like to do, and Premier League teams obviously do it much better because of the resources, is partner with existing American academies. For example, I'm very close with the people who own the Tampa Rowdies, which is a USL team. It's sort of under the top league of US soccer, as we call it. And interfacing with not just US academies, Italian academies, Middle East academies, Latin American academies, is actually something that the recruiting team and Neil, we talk about a lot, because in the lower league teams like League Two, it's very rare to get a foreign player unless they've sort of come through the UK, because our resource and our focus is always sort of, you know, within our sort of very small UK circle. So something that we would love to expand is more of a partnership with foreign academies to bring them through. I think really any youngster in the world would always love to be in the UK for football. more than the US, more than Latin America, more than any European countries. They very much covet being here. But other than, again, the very top leagues, there's not a lot of attention given to recruit sort of foreign players. The last thing is that the EFL just changed the rules where there used to be a very complicated point system to get non-visa holders, non-UK citizens in, and they've actually just simplified it so that every EFL league can automatically get from a handful to, say, 1 or 2 foreign players quite easily. So that just started this season, so hopefully that will open up some doors to be able to bring in more talented youngsters from other countries.
Right, slightly personal. My wife works for United Airlines, so a trip to the States would suit me down to the ground. But Greg, being American, we seem to be getting a lot of American owners in the UK at the moment. Are you in chat talking to any of them and maybe talking to bring some of the players that they're looking after to us?
Yeah, so there's definitely a lot of American owners coming in. So the answer on the chatting is yes. What I found actually, which was pretty nice, is when we were just looking for a club, much less, signed with the Jills, there's sort of a group of Americans from the premier owners all the way down to the National League owners who are actually very, very easy to talk to, share, very open with sort of ideas. And we actually have an American owners sort of WhatsApp chat group. We're constantly in communication, absolutely. United Airlines, is that, you said? Yeah. That's a bit of an anomaly. Most League Two teams, it's very difficult to get United Airlines or a Hewlett-Packard, as a sleeve sponsor. Hats off to that team, which I won't name. But yes, there's quite a bit of communication with Americans as sort of owners of various levels of clubs. And again, they were very open. We share ideas quite a lot. Unfortunately, they don't give us the players we want necessarily, but a very nice group, very, very nice group of Americans.
Yeah, we've got a question over.
Your side, Dave.
Go on, Dave, you go here first. But yeah, that's it, and then Steve will go back there.
Oh, hello guys. 2 questions if it's okay. First, is there any update on what we're going to do with potentially having a women's team back under the Jills? And also, can we have a bit more of an update on what's happening with the B team? Are they going to be playing in matches? Is it going to just be friendlies? Is it league? How many players have we got for it?
Should we start with the ladies team first, women's team, and then go?
So, as Joe mentioned a few moments ago, we will be shifting our focus within the next several months to rebuilding, reinvigorating our community department. And we see our women's team as being built out of that community department. It makes sense when you look at the way it's done throughout league. And so stay tuned. The truth of the matter is we don't know exactly what that looks like, but we know it'll be a really important conversation as this community scheme gets back up and running. That's the truth of the matter. And in conjunction with that, we'll also be, of course, looking to exploring how we can better serve girls and young women in the community in terms of football, whether that's through academy programs, soccer schools, that sort of thing. So again, we very much see that as fitting into that community department. And so I know that I have been answering that way for several months now, but the more we explore the ideas and think about it, we know definitively that that's where this women's and girls programming should live. So thanks for your patience with us as we muddle through.
Yeah, just on the B team, obviously it goes alongside the first team, and Neil certainly would dictate a lot of that as well. We'll be working closely to them. Obviously we're Cat 3, so Cat 3 means we can't be in the league for the B team. It's going to come down to Kenny, myself, the B team manager, when we get one of those. We're looking for that. And Neil himself to actually get the games. So I mean, we're looking at probably 20 games for the season for the B team, which we will be able to arrange ourselves. That could be during the day, and that could be evening games as well. So they will have plenty of games, the boys. And like Neil said earlier on, at some stage, not at the moment, but perhaps October, November, some of them B team boys might need a loan move, which obviously we'll talk about at the time. But at the moment, we feel as a club we need them boys under the manager's nose. So each day that they're training, they're close to Neil at the training ground, and give them an opportunity to prove to Neil that they need to get into the first team. So that's the process with the boys. It's easy to get games, that won't be a problem. So yeah, we're quite happy with that. B team recruitment, we're looking at players to come in. I've also got a group when Neil has got his squad that need to have games. They're not getting game time, they'll come into that B squad as well. So we're comfortable in terms of numbers, but we'll keep looking to recruit as we go along.
Fantastic. Any question over there?
Hi, yeah, my message is for Neil. Obviously, the pre-season is coming to an end now. How would you rate pre-season so far? Are the lads ready for Stockport? And what do you think of the new guy we've signed today?
So, as a fan base, you'd always be dictated to pre-season by results and signings. So yes, a big part for me as well. I have to look at performances within the outcome of a result. I have to look at the signings as trying to build a squad that I feel is competitive enough for us to achieve where we want to be, which ultimately will be a top seven finish to gain promotion this year. Really pleased with the application of pre-season. I'd say coupled with a trip to Italy as a football club, that is not just for me and the players, but the football club. You don't get much better than that. The level of opponent we've had has been mega, from Dover and Dartford as local non-league teams to Millwall and Cheltenham teams trying to get out of their divisions this year. So we've been really fortunate with the games programme. Recruitment is ongoing. We feel we've recruited really well so far. We've one, maybe two more to do at the top end of the pitch. And that obviously brings us on to Ashley Addison, who is, Andy said earlier, is completely different to what we got. I felt last year at times, as good as we were in the second half of the season, I felt we lacked a little bit of pace at the top end of the pitch. Just that game changer from the start or at the end of a game that could run behind, stretch teams, and then we could maybe make some passes in front, or vice versa, make some passes then to be able to stretch behind. Ashley and Nico at Crawley didn't maybe get the recognition they deserved because the team lost games, scored a lot of goals, but let in a lot of goals as well. They were a really good pairing. And then we think Ashley Addison with Ollie Hawkins would be an unbelievable pairing at that level as well. Hawks is the big man and Ashley to run in behind. So it's got the makings of a good pair that Gillingham have seen over the years. Hope it materialises like that. Are we finished? No. We feel we need a little bit more around them as well. But over the course of pre-season, I've been really, really pleased with how the lads have come together as a group. The level of training has been to a very, very high standard. We're in a miles better place than we were last year, obviously at this stage last year, but also where we were at in January and February. We feel we're in front of that as a group, which bodes well for us. Has every session or game gone to plan? No, but that's what pre-season's for. For me to see combinations, to see back fours, back fives, centre forward pairings, midfield threes, for me to see everything, full-back wide player combinations. Some have gone really well, some haven't, and I learn as much from a positive result and performance as I do from a negative as well.
Dave, should we go over there? Dave?
Yeah, good evening. It's another off-the-field question. As a shareholder, albeit bought with the heart, not as an investment, what is the current situation on us, I suppose, small shareholders? Will there be an offer to buy us out? And cheeky follow-up, any discounts as there used to be back in the old days?
Not, you know, so far we've viewed the shareholder group as sort of a big group of fans. None of them are sort of financially that big, but obviously they're very, very important. So to date, there aren't any plans for any type of sort of special discounts or anything like that. There also really aren't any plans, although there could be, for any type of formal shareholder meeting per se. And the reason for that isn't because we don't respect the shareholders at all. It's quite the opposite. Again, in my mind, shareholders and fans are fans. They're part of the community club. So at least we haven't to date differentiated between a fan who's a shareholder, a fan who's a season ticket holder, a fan who's comes to certain games and not other games. Now that can change. It's not necessarily sort of a high priority or small priority, but our sort of focus in this sort of 6 months is sort of bring the community back to bring the club back to the community, bring the community club back to the community for all the fans. There's still a lot of work to do. I think you guys will see when you come back to Priestfield, we've done quite a bit over the summer, so that can certainly evolve, but to date, there's not really any sort of plans per se for that group.
This is a question for Neil. What are the biggest lessons you learned from last season and what you'll be doing to taking them into this season?
Question. Score goals. I think over the course of the season we learned so much, didn't we? But every day you're learning as a football manager, developing all the time, learning about my players. And I said pre-season's the most important part of the year for that. I learned a hell of a lot in the first half of the season about League Two, and the biggest thing of all was how random it was. And by that I mean you could watch a team's last 6 games and they would play 4-4-2 and win all 6, and then you play them on the Saturday and they play 3-4-3. Why? Who knows? Yeah, and what I learned, biggest thing I learned is we have to be adaptable over the course of a season. That's from game to game, week to week, month to month, but also in game as well. And that's why we've recruited the players we have, and we're trying to recruit the final 1 or 2 to make sure that over the course of the season, if I want to play a back 4 on a Saturday and then a back 5 on a Tuesday, I can. And that's not how I've always managed, but I've learned I've probably got to do that to be successful this season.
Have we had a question down here, take down the front? And we'll go to the back afterwards, David.
Thank you. The question's about finding a new stadium should attendances or promotions warrant it. Would it be your intention to continue the recent plans to move to Mill Hill, or would you start the process again and re-examine all of it?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. I think first, so a new stadium is definitely something that will be quite exciting for the team and for the community. But we definitely need to be out of League Two first. I would say we need to be propelling towards championship, but definitely in League One. So number one, the timing of it, would sort of, I think, be more in that future of the club versus today's future. As far as where the stadium would go, yeah, I mean, in Medway, Mill Hill is probably still the best or only spot, to stay in, which I think would be the preference. But around the area, there's actually quite a few opportunities. So I think that's probably wide open. It would matter a lot, on what's available, transportation, closeness to the community. I think Kent is actually quite interesting because unlike, say, a London, there's actually huge possibilities, really 360 degrees around Medway, including Medway. So I don't think that we will be short on opportunities of where to do it. I think it's more sort of getting our ducks in a row getting the trajectory we need for the club, and then that to me is a pretty exciting, thing to pursue in the future.
Good evening. Just two quick questions about recruitment. The first one is, how the hell did we get Johnny Williams at such a late stage, which really riled Bradford City? And the other one is, I don't know how true this is, but at a fans forum at Ayr United, we were going for Akinyemi, and their chairman said that we were very, it was hard work to deal with us. So I just wondered what he meant by that.
It's a good question. I can't remember actually, it was that long time ago. Yeah, Johnny Williams, it was obviously, we jumped in at the last minute. I remember having a conversation at Paul's house with Kenny, and you was there, Brad, as well, with his agent, and he was on his way to Bradford, and we didn't really know he was available. We spoke to Neil, and obviously we knew about the player, how good he was. I think he was in Leeds at the time with his girlfriend ready to sign, and we made the call, and we was able to sabotage Bradford, so it's quite nice really. I don't think Mark Hughes is too happy, but I don't think he'll talk to Neil when we play him, so that'd be an interesting one. Dippo, yeah, Adeyemi, is that how you pronounce his name? We spoke about him so many times over the summer. We tried, we had a lot of process with him, we had a lot of conversation with the player. I've got to say, as a recruitment team, we wasn't 100% sure at the start. So we had a lot of conversations about him. His price was ridiculous for where he's been and what he's done. And we weren't prepared to raise our price on him because we felt there was a ceiling for the player and what he's done in terms of coming out of non-league to playing in Scotland, which is pretty non-league. Especially Ayr United. So yeah, I mean, we wasn't hard to deal with. We didn't feel that the price that they was asking was right. So good luck to York City as far as I'm concerned. We move on.
I didn't see insulting a whole country coming this evening, so well done, Des. Okay, let's go.
Oh, right. Okay, thanks. Just a quick question for Neil, actually. But bearing in mind Scott Malone's pedigree, how long was he on your radar? How pleased are you to have him?
Very pleased to have him. Did I think we'd get him? No. No, I didn't. I didn't think we'd attract Johnny Williams, to be honest. And been very honest in the assessments of both. It's not because Brad's got endless pockets that we've attracted those sorts of players. They come because locations are really good for him. I've got to be honest. Johnny lives 15 minutes up the road, and Scott is 30 minutes away. But Scott, for example, he called me personally to ask if he could come and train because, like I said, he's half an hour away. He's come out of a London club, and he said he's got championship options that are in the pipeline. He wants to train somewhere, and I just thought for us it'd be brilliant to have him in the building with his qualities and his leadership qualities. His organisation skills, the way he handles the ball, his running ability, everything that you've seen so far, I thought would rub off well on the group for the period he's with us. Just week by week, we hoped we might have a chance of doing it, but never really believed it. And then he called me last week just to say that if we'd like to do it, then he would be really keen. Championship offers were there for him, and he chose to come to us. And like I said, locations is huge for him rather than finances. And he's somebody I've known a long time and get on really well with. So delighted to have him. I think he'll add real qualities, and I think him and Max Clark are two really good players for the level.
Yeah, the back.
I seem to remember, Neil, you saying towards the end of last season that this season you want us to be a lot more sort of attacking, front foot, taking it, sort of teams both home and away. Is that sort of still the plan, especially sort of in those away games? And is there anything else you can sort of share on how you'd like the team to play this season?
Yeah, so obviously I did say that at the last fans forum. I said that we want to play on the front foot and be, try and dominate teams a little bit more than, well, certainly in the first half of the season. Second half, we dominated a lot of games. Not always overly being able to make 500 or 600 passes, but whether that was physically or with the ball, we dominated a lot of teams. We want to be able to do that more often than not. It's going to be challenging at different times against good sides. What I want the players to do is be able to make an extra pass at the right times. Last year I thought we was quite predictable in the second half of the season. We was very, very effective, mind you, but quite predictable. I want us to be able to be predictable at the right times, but at other times I want us to be able to pass the ball as well. That comes from obviously coaching, recruitment, and really good players making good decisions. I think anyone was at the Millwall game, they saw two teams that ultimately they're a team trying to get in the Premier League. They had better quality. We matched them quite well for long periods. And against Cheltenham for 55 minutes, I thought we battered them. I thought we played them off the park for 55 minutes. And then there's just quality in both boxes we fell short on, which isn't quite there in League Two, probably both boxes. But ultimately, if we want to be that top side, we have to have a ruthless nature to us. And that's what we're still searching for at the moment. We had it against Dartford, we had it against Dover, we had it small spells against Cheltenham without just getting that final touch to put in the net. But to see teams off in League Two, you've got to put the ball in the goal ultimately. And that's hence why we brought Nadders in today, and we still want to do one, if not two more attacking players.
Good evening. I think most of us can't get our heads around that we're buying players for money. Can you give us a little bit of clarity on FFP, financial fair play? Is there a limit to how much income that we can spend or we can buy on wages in terms of a turnover of, say, £10 million?
Yeah, so FFP is interesting. So what the rule is you can spend roughly, there's some caveats to it, up to 60% of your turnover in sort of player wages, but that's all players as well as staff, on-pitch staff. Sort of caveat to that, which makes it so FFP, the F fair, isn't really fair, is that you can throw in as much equity as you want, unlimited to spend as much as you want on players. And that's the FFP rules. So you can argue if that's fair or not fair, but the turnover doesn't really matter if an owner just wants to throw in equity. That being said, and I think we talked about this the first fan forum, and certainly Shannon and I are still huge believers in sustainability. The reason we're fans of sustainability, though, is you actually have a double-edged sword. If you throw in a ton of money and buy yourself promotion, that seems like a short-term victory, but then you're in League One, and do you have the right players? What kind of contracts did you sign? And you're generally stuck in multi-year contracts, so you're going to come right back down, or you have to just do it again with other players. The only way to sustainably run a club and get promotion appropriately is kind of what we've been doing, which is we've methodically gotten the right players for our team today, for the length of contracts that make sense for where we want our club to go, but also for the right price, without having to sort of throw stupid money into it. So I think maybe the answer to your question, although it probably wasn't your question, is that FFP isn't really the limiting factor for us. It's sort of good business and building a community club that's going to be around in the community for a long period of time, but also be quite successful doing it.
Steve, do you want to do a couple in the middle?
I've got one here first.
Okay.
Yeah, my question to you, Joe, is are you trying to get all the Crawley players here? Make yourself feel at home?
Someone tweeted earlier on that me and Neil are having a competition, how many ex-Crawley and how many ex-Millwall players we can get into this. I take zero credit, and you're going to get me lynched in Crawley when I go home this evening, so I'll leave it there.
One final thing, I'd just like to say thank you to Brad and Shannon for giving us that Como trip. That was superb. And Neil, have you chosen a captain yet?
Yes, but I'm not telling you tonight.
My question was going to be to Neil, have you picked the first team yet? And who?
This is live, isn't it? Yeah, look, in my head I have an idea. I have to prepare more for Stockport next week. They play Friday night and Saturday. I watched them last week against Huddersfield. They play Friday night and Saturday against Blackburn and Preston in 2 games. So I'll be a lot clearer on what they do after that, and then sort of have more serious thoughts about what team selection is going to be and how we're going to play against them. Yeah, of course, as time goes by, we add to the group. I have ideas of what the team's likely to be. But there's no point having that too much in the head today, because we picked up 2 injuries in the last 48 hours, unfortunately, which might rule a player, certainly 1 player, if not 2 players, out of the game. So I have to take 1 step at a time. So yes, some players have done really well pre-season. A couple haven't done as well as I would like, if I'm honest. So that puts thoughts in my mind. But I'm pretty much there, yes, with what team I'd like to start against Stockport.
Bit of a boring commercial question, but will we be bringing back the New Year's Eve events? Because last year we didn't do the traditional New Year's Eve party we've done in years past, and they were always brilliant.
Yeah, is that New Year's Eve? Is that right? Yeah. Last year we did one down in the factory, which there's about 300 people attended, but we didn't do one like I get the impression sort of pre-COVID you did in here. We are this year back up and running a lot closer to what was happening pre-COVID with Christmas parties. We will probably see how that sells before we commit to doing New Year's. At the moment it's selling well, it's ahead of where we had expected and had targeted ourselves with being. So we will consider adding New Year's, or we may do something downstairs like we did last year. We'll probably gauge nearer the time where we are with ticket sales for Christmas before we judge that, but definitely on our radar when we probably will do something. Yeah.
My question is for, it's about the megastore. So how is it doing progress-wise, and could you give a rough date of when it could open?
Yeah, so it's going along nicely. It's happening, it's been stripped out. We have designs and the builders have started work on that, so they've started work on the floor. We were hoping to have something done sort of by the start of the season or at the start of the season. That's now not going to happen because we've sort of utilised the space slightly beyond what we'd initially planned. So we're looking at mid-September. The builders told me earlier today, mid-September is when it's likely to open. Frustrating for us and probably for yourselves that it's going to take that long. But what we've included in the space is a family engagement centre where people can purchase tickets, a customised printing section of the shop, a waiting area where it can be sort of used as a front of house in the week. So we've actually done a lot more with the space than just having a shop. So whilst that's delayed it slightly, we think it's going to be something which is a great space, fit for purpose for many years to come, and if it means we lose a couple of weeks now, we think it's worth it. So short answer to your question, mid-September is where we're expecting it to open.
Yeah, sorry. I've just got 2 questions. One's quite quick. Firstly, has the sound system in the Gordon Road end, or Gordon Road stand, been sorted? Because it's pretty much non-existent. And also, retro football kits, obviously massive at the minute with kind of like Premier League clubs. Is there any kind of plans to have some retro football kits that we could buy?
Yeah, so in answer to your first question, gentleman, he's over there in the mustardy jumper. The guy over there is an absolute genius, by the way, Robson. So Robson was employed as our head of stadium technology and infrastructure. Largely, part of his remit is about installing the LEDs. He's also been working on the PA system. There isn't a new system that's gone in this summer. It's something we've sort of discussed and have looked at. But Robson's sort of replaced a few things and tweaked it. Is it 100% perfect? Quite frankly, no. Is it better than it was, Robson? I'm looking for a nod. Yes, I'll take that as a yes. So we're doing what we can with what we've got initially. Robson's worked on it, we tweaked it. The sound quality and volume should be slightly better than it was at the end of the season. Second part of the question about retro kits is something that Meg and I have spoken about quite a bit. We are looking at it. We think it'd be popular. We visited a lot of club shops a couple of months ago to look at what we wanted to do with our own one. Retro kits were very popular, so we're looking to do that. Be interested to know what sort of kits you think would be popular. So maybe catch me at the end to discuss that. But it's something that I expect we'll have in the store when it opens. Some retro kits.
Good evening. I wondered if you could know if the Legends games are coming back. All the Legends.
Yeah, so Phil Catterick and Hannah Southall at the moment are working on a bit of a Legends programme. We're aiming to try and bring back a legend for each game.
I was actually on about a match, like getting...
doing a Legends match?
Andy and Neil could probably lace their boots up again.
He'll do a bit?
He'll get sent off in 5 minutes. Actually, I might as well, yeah.
I was just thinking about, we lost a great player in Ollie Lee last year. And he was too young to have a testimonial. So I thought if we could do a Legends and get involved in making some money for the community as well, as you keep saying, you want to try and get the football community sorted. The youngsters might see some of the old players and laugh their heads off, but at the end of the day, you know, it's good to see some of the players that you've got them wonderful photographs along, you know. So.
Yeah, no, it's a nice idea, something we can definitely look at. I think it'll be very popular. Thank you. Yeah, we'll go just in front.
I'm not going to be as brutal as my son was earlier. So the very first fans forum we had here, the club was in a completely different place, and once again, to all of you guys up on stage, thank you ever so much for giving us back our football club. It's been 7 months you've been here to the Gannons. How are you finding life in Gillingham now?
We love it here. So I was actually just talking to someone earlier today about expectations, which will answer your question when I get there. But when we first came in, obviously we were 24th, you know, possibly getting relegated out of the EFL, and Neil and the recruiting obviously saved us, and everybody's heroes. Shannon and I are huge heroes. We go to Nando's and people want our selfies and things for saving the club, and we love it. Now, which I think is actually a good thing because these guys are very, very competitive, is the expectation's a lot different. So there's absolutely no expectation that we're going to get relegated. The expectation is, are we going to be automatic promotion, or do we have to go through Wembley? Which is kind of joking, but it's actually not joking because that really is the expectation. So I would say that we absolutely love it here. We love the community, we love the club, we love the fans, we love the story. We really love everything that's going on. We love the staff, we love the recruiting. But we're probably as nervous as you. The whistle's gonna blow in Stockport and we have a new season upon us. Did we do it right? Did we get the right players? Do we need 2 more? Did we need 4 more? Do we need no more? So we're sort of with you, is we're gonna cheer and we're gonna cry and we're gonna laugh. And hopefully the community still loves me and Shannon, depending on what happens the first 10 games. But we're actually thrilled to be here, and we think everyone is terrific. The club is terrific. We just don't get to see our kids anymore because we're always in the UK, but that's okay. They're coming here to watch some matches. So, but thank you for asking.
This is for Andy. Going back to earlier on and saying, I come from here.
Oh, sorry about that. I know there was one in the building. I thought they would. I do apologise. I love it, really.
Question about recruitment. I see you get closer ties with Chatham Town these days now. You got a good player from Chatham, and Fred, you've been up there a few times yourself, seen Kevin. Is there? You're looking at more players coming from? Is that a place we can get more players from?
Yeah, I think we've got a really good relationship with Chatham. Obviously, Damien, the main sponsor as well, is to do with Chatham's. I know the manager. Neil knows the manager. So yeah, I mean, I think it's good to have a relationship with some of these smaller clubs in Kent, and they're one of those, you know. So and hopefully we might be able to help them with. You know, we talked about players going on loan, getting some experience at men's football. Chatham have just got promoted last season as well, so they're on the way up. They're very well supported as a team as well. So it's a great little connection with the two clubs, and definitely it's. We'll keep working with them, and if we can help them, or like you say, we took the young boy Ike out of Chatham to develop him, and you know, we'll continue to do that hopefully.
Dave, there was a question at the back, gentleman in the corner, at the back in the corner.
Brad. Question for Brad and Shannon. Gillingham versus Wrexham, will you be in the rain event?
I absolutely plan on it. Actually, I'm not sure we'll be allowed to come to the Rain Amend, but I think that's the day to go. But we will absolutely be here. You'll be okay. Do you have anything to add?
Just so we're clear, Ryan Reynolds is Canadian, he is not American.
Yeah.
So obviously, the very first game you were here, you witnessed us make Jamie Vardy look ordinary, and our fans, the humour that we have, I've never seen anything like that from such a top player. The fans are amazing, obviously I'm one. Is there anything you've seen so far you'd like to see more of from the fans, or maybe even anything less?
I think there's good and bad in that question. The good, and actually this always strikes me, is that obviously when we're here, and the second part of the season, Priestfield was truly a fortress. I mean, truly. Neil will say it, the lads will say it, and a lot of that's all the fans. I mean, especially when you're scoring into the rain event. And I think that's actually quite special. And not only that, but what I notice is when we have 200 or 500, even 1,000 people at an away game, a lot of the time we are louder and chanting more than 4,000 or 5,000 or 2,000 of the home. And I think more of that and all of that, and that's part of what makes our club special. The other side to that, and I think you're going to see some of this next week with some public service announcements that we're going to work on, is that there's a very small minority of our fans that go a little bit too far with discriminatory chants, offensive chants, racist chants, homophobic chants, sexist chants. That we need a lot less of. A lot of you know that we were actually charged 3 times by the FA last year for 3 individuals, separate instances, but it was single people that are so bad that we actually got charged, most likely fined by the FA. And the problem with that is that we want people like Alfie May here, but we can't do it if the FA charges us money for horrible fandom in that way. So I think we just all have to be a bit careful, watch your neighbors, advise your neighbors that chanting and having fun at a game, at a match, is obviously what football is all about. But there's certain lines that can never be crossed, so I would say less of that. But honestly, that's 99.999% of our fans are what we want and why we win at home and why we'll hopefully win more away. It's that 0.0001% that we really have to be careful about, and this is the first time the club has actually been hit with charges, most likely, you know, financial consequences because of a very, very few.
Two quick questions. Is David Totonda still at the club? Is one. And then the second one is, I can't remember the last time, a week before the season, that we've got no loan signings. So is the strategy to look later in the transfer before it ends to look at some loan signings to bring into the club?
Firstly on Tuts, no, David's not with us anymore and now won't be staying with us. We talked a lot with David at the start of the window about staying, but again, going back to the young man's original question about loans earlier, about facilitating players' needs. David is at an age now, I think 27, 28, he almost wanted to be guaranteed playing every week, and he's a brilliant lad, again, fantastically well with him. I couldn't make that promise, so it was decided quite early on, almost the first or second week of the window, that David would go on to pastures new. Hence we did Max Clark really early, and then we've gone on to take Scott Malone as well. So that's not going to happen with David now. Regarding the loans, we're not opposed to taking loans. I would rather work with permanent players. I'd rather work with our own players, Gillingham players, that feel part of our football club. I'm not saying loans don't work, they do. Conor Marston's a prime example for us. But ultimately in the first half of the season, we're going to go for as many permanent signings as we can, first and foremost, to make our own, and then the loan market will open up and we'll look at that as a secondary option.
Yeah, we'll take two more questions because we're pretty much out of time, I think.
So basically, I know we were a fortress at home, and our away form wasn't the best during the end of the season. Just wanted to know if there's any way that we can change that if possible.
Concede less, score more. Any more context on that? No. I mean, we worked really hard on the mentality. Well, when Brad Shannon came in, the place galvanised, and that carried the players. We become very, very well. We didn't see many goals in the first half of the season. We just scored fuck all. Oh, sorry. Sorry, young man, for the language. Sorry, everybody. We didn't concede many goals in the first half of the season. Over the course of the season, I think we only conceded 49 goals. And some of them, to be fair, was second and third in game when we lost confidence and basically defenders just give up because they knew the attackers weren't going to score. We changed that overnight in January. We become really, really difficult to score against here, really difficult to play against. On the road, we tried to go the same route, and it didn't quite materialise. Played with two strikers a lot, and didn't always dominate the ball or physically dominate the opponent. And we adjusted as time went on, and we had a couple of really good away wins where I adjusted the shape and the personnel. So going back to a question earlier from the gentleman down here about what I learned over the course of the last 12 months, that's one thing, is maybe being slightly different at home and away. But ultimately, it does go back to what I originally said, you've got to have a clean sheet mentality and you've got to have a goal threat. That's home or away.
Sorry, we've got a question there and a question there.
Just sorry for swearing. Brad's talking about better habits for us, and I've done that. Apologies.
Fine, Brad. Neil, how happy are you with the youth system here?
Yeah, we're getting better all the time. We're absolutely excited, chuffed that we've got a B team this year. And again, the gentleman's question earlier about if we're going to be in a league, I thought Andy answered fantastically well. We're going to be a little bit ad hoc. We're going to play local teams. We're going to do our bit within the community, which we've done pre-season so far with a lot local teams playing us. So as a B team, brilliant. As the youngsters coming through, a B team's a massive step because those 15s, 16s, 18s, they've got something to strive to. That gap between the first team and the under 18s, which is massive, absolutely huge in the modern game. We've got that pathway now, which enables us to build that system. The infrastructure of the academy is building like the first team structure's building, like the backroom staff's building upstairs in the offices. That's progressing as well. So again, we're not necessarily going to see a team full of Gillingham players in the next 2 years, but in 5 years' time, you know, it's a demand of the owner. They would like to see more homegrown players. It's a demand. For me, as a football person, I'd love to see a club. I love to see homegrown players on the pitch. Every fan wants to sing, he's one of our own. It's brilliant for me as a manager to listen to that because it means we've been successful as a football club. So the B team is just an extended part of the first team, but that feeds downwards. And when you've got players playing in Dartford, Blue Water Way, even out in Dover, far reaches, the chance to come to Gillingham with a pathway to the first team will stop them going to places like Brighton, Millwall, Cheltenham.
We'll do the final question.
Right, Neil, you've promised us all these goals, so thank you for that. So I'm wondering, as Neil's saying we're going to be top scorers in the league this year, Brad, are we going to have that big screen to watch all these replays?
So, actually, no one really asked the summer infrastructure question, but since you bring it up. So, we took on a lot in the summer. So we have LEDs half of them are being literally air freighted from China to make the Southampton, and then the rest of them will fill in sort of by the end of the month. The school, which is now a fan center, a reception area, a custom printing area, which is actually going to be terrific. Actually, it's funny because I said, oh, it's the summer. We have like, what, 4 months, 3 months? We could do all of it. Let's add more stuff. Jumbotron being one of them. And Joe, negative Nelly Joe, said, the summer is much shorter than you think. You already took on way too much. And so we added a couple kitchens. We updated some boxes. We did a bunch more. So I think we actually did a lot. Jumbotron 1 is not going to happen by the beginning of this season, but we want to do it. I actually want to do it, but there's a small thing called planning in the UK, which is actually quite cumbersome. So we weren't able to get the planning done, and now with the season starting, it's actually quite a bit of construction. So the short answer is no. The long answer is it's still on the list, and hopefully the stuff that you see in Priestfield is sort of a lot for one summer, and then we'll sort of hit it again for next summer.
Okay, lovely. We'll wrap it up there. Once again, thank you so much for coming. Thanks to these guys for giving up their time and sort of giving such thorough answers. The factory is going to be open, Dave, afterwards, so if you want to go down and have a drink, feel free. I'm sure we'll be one of these organised once the season's underway and when we're top of the league and scoring all the goals. So yeah, please do continue to come. It's great for us, it's great for you guys as well, I'm sure. So thank you very much for coming. Thanks for the staff for putting it on, really appreciate you guys. Go and grab yourselves a drink and we will see you back here on the 8th.